Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My dear students, welcome again to my this fifth lecture. In continuity with the last lecture, in which we discussed the sulci and gyri on the supralateral surface of cerebral hemisphere. Now we will continue with the sulci and gyri on the medial surface and inferior surface of cerebral hemisphere. But before that, there are some important points about the supralateral surface. Now again, the supralateral surface of cerebral hemisphere. You know, this is frontal pole, this is occipital pole, and this is temporal pole. We discuss different sulci, for example, lateral sulcus, having stem, and 3 rami. This is a posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus, anterior horizontal and anterior ascending rami. This is a central sulcus, and in front of the central sulcus is precentral sulcus, superior frontal sulcus, inferior frontal sulcus. Behind the central sulcus is postcentral sulcus, then intraparietal sulcus, and parieto-occipital sulcus, then transverse occipital sulcus, superior temporal sulcus, and inferior temporal sulcus, calcareous sulcus, lunate, and lateral occipital sulcus. Now, this is a superior temporal gyrus. This is lateral surface of superior temporal gyrus. And you know, this is inferior frontal gyrus traversed by these 2 rami. Inferior frontal gyrus. Now, this is the upper lip, and this is the lower lip of the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. Upper lip and lower lip. Now, if we draw the upper lip upwards and lower lip downwards, then you will be able to see the floor of the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. Now, what is in the floor of the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus? And what are the features of superior surface of the superior temporal gyrus? Now here you can see only the lateral surface of superior temporal gyrus. The superior surface is hidden by the posterior, by the lips of the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. So when we move the upper lip upwards and lower lip downwards, then we will be able to see the superior surface of the superior temporal gyrus and floor of the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. Now, for example, This is superolateral surface of cerebral hemisphere, and you know the frontal pole, temporal pole, occipital pole. Then you know the central sulcus. Then in front of the central sulcus is precentral sulcus, superior frontal sulcus, then inferior frontal sulcus. Then here posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. This is anterior horizontal ramus. This is superior ramus. Here is the post-central sulcus on the lateral surface of parietal lobe. This is intraparietal sulcus, which extend to the lateral surface of the occipital lobe. Then you know this is parieto-occipital sulcus. This is inferior temporal sulcus. And this is superior temporal sulcus. Here is calcarine sulcus on the lateral surface of occipital lobe. A little in front of it is the lunate sulcus. This is upper polar and this is lower polar sulcus, and this is lateral occipital sulcus. Now here are the upper and lower lips of the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. If we stretch the upper lip upwards, the upper lip of the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus upwards, and the lower lip downwards, then the interior of the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus will be exposed. Now, this is, suppose we stretch the upper lip of the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus upwards. And the inferior lip downwards. Then inside we can see this is floor of the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus, which will be visible to us only when we move the upper lip of the posterior ramus upwards and the lower lip is stretched downwards. So what is this? Floor of posterior ramus of lateral sulcus. Now this is floor, this is upper wall of the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus, and this is the lower wall of the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. Now what is this? Superior temporal gyrus. Superior temporal gyrus. So can you see on the lateral surface, this is the lateral surface of superior temporal gyrus. When we stretch down the lower lip of the posterior ramus, can you see this is superior surface of the superior temporal gyrus. This is the lateral surface and this is superior surface. Here is the inferior frontal gyrus, and you can see this is inferior surface of the inferior temporal gyrus. and this is the floor of the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. Now, there are some features of the superior surface of the superior temporal gyrus. Now, what are these features? It is not smooth. It shows some gyri on the superior surface of the superior temporal gyrus. There are some gyri. So you can see this is a gyrus, another gyrus, and another gyrus running transversely from without inwards, from the superolateral surface inwards towards the floor of the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. These are transverse temporal gyri. Again, I'll repeat, the superior surface of the superior temporal gyrus shows 3 or 4 transversely running gyri, starting from lateral surface and extending deeply towards the floor of the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. These run transversely from without inwards. This is why they are known as the transverse temporal gyri. Transverse temporal gyri, where these are present on superior surface of superior temporal gyrus. Now there are usually 3 such gyri. One is anterior transverse temporal gyrus, anterior transverse temporal gyrus. Then this one is middle transverse temporal gyrus. And then there is posterior transverse temporal gyrus, number 3. Posterior transverse temporal gyrus. There are usually 3 transversely running gyri on the superior surface of the superior temporal gyrus. Sometimes they are 4 in number. But when they are 3, they are labeled as anterior, middle, and posterior transverse temporal gyri. Now, what is the importance of it? It is very important because in the anterior temporal gyrus, there is hearing center, part of the auditory center or hearing center. Occupy this anterior transverse gyrus apart from other areas. So one of the area where the auditory center is located is anterior transverse gyrus, which is running transversely from without inwards on the superior surface of the superior temporal gyrus. So these 3 gyri are only visible when you move apart the upper and lower lips of the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus, as I've shown in this diagram. Then I told you this is floor. This is the upper surface of the inferior frontal gyrus. This is upper surface of the superior temporal gyrus. Here in the middle, it is the floor. Now this floor of the inferior floor of the posterior ramus of the lateral ventricle is occupied by insula. Insula. Here is insula. In the floor of the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus, there is insula. This is insula. So on the upper surface of the superior temporal gyrus, there are anterior, middle, and posterior transverse temporal gyri, of which the anterior transverse gyrus is very important. Next, regarding the floor of the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus, here insula is present. Now, what is insula? A number of gyri and sulci buried in the floor of posterior ramus of lateral sulcus. Is known as insula. Here, certain sulci and gyri are buried in the floor of the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. Collectively, these gyri and sulci are labeled as insula. Why insula? Insula derived from the word island. So here you can see there is a small island. This is why it's known as insula. Another example I will give you, for example, in the pancreas there are islets of Langerhans. Now, if you study the histology of the pancreas, there is endocrine part, exocrine part. Exocrine part appear like small islands. Embedded in the exocrine part of the pancreas. So because the early scientists, when they have seen small gray areas which appear like small island in the pancreas, they named these areas as islets of Langerhans. Islets of Langerhans. This is the endocrine part of the pancreas and secrete insulin. So why this hormone which is released from endocrine part of the pancreas is known as insulin? Because insulin derived from the word islets, island. So similarly here, it is just like in island, some gyri, sulci, therefore it is called insula. Now insula has again certain sulci and gyri. Now suppose this is a sulcus known as the circular sulcus. This is circular sulcus. Which surround the insula in the floor of the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. Now, this is known as circular sulcus, but it is not completely circular, but because anteriorly it is deficient. As you can see here, it is deficient. Now, this extension of the insula towards the orbital part of the inferior surface, this is known as Lyman insulae. This part of the insula is known as Lyman insulae because the circular sulcus is not complete. And the gyri of the insula continue downwards and forwards onto the orbital part of the inferior surface of the cerebrum. Now, this lateral surface of the insula, it is crossed by a sulcus near center. This sulcus is known as the sulcus centralis insulae. Sulcus centralis insulae. Central sulcus of the insula, so named as sulcus centralis insulae. It divides the lateral surface of the insula into anterior part and posterior part. In the anterior part, there are small sulci. The anterior part of the insula is traversed by small sulci. The posterior part of the insula is crossed by one long sulcus. So in the anterior part of the insula, the small sulci divided into small gyri, known as the gyri brevis. Gyri brevis. And on the posterior part of the insula, behind the sulcus centralis insulae, there is one sulcus, so you can see one long gyrus. This is known as the gyrus longus. Just like you know, there is adductor longus, adductor brevis. Similarly, these gyri are short, so they are called gyri brevis. This is a long gyrus, it's called gyrus longus. So these are the gyri and sulci which are buried in the floor of the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus, collectively known as the insula. And I told you that insula is considered another lobe of the cerebrum. In the last lecture, we talked about this. So when you release these two lips, again the two lips of the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus, they are approximated, and the insula which is buried in the floor, it is again out of view. Now, with the help of this paper model showing the supralateral surface of the cerebral hemisphere, I want to explain the transverse temporal gyri in the insula. Now suppose this is posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus having upper lip and lower lip. The insula is buried inside and transverse temporal gyri are also inside. So when we move the upper lip of the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus upward and downward, then the transverse temporal gyri and floor of the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus where insula is located can be seen. Now suppose if we move apart the upper and lower lip of the posterior surface of the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. Now this is superior temporal gyrus lateral surface, and this is superior surface of the superior temporal gyrus. Can you see here there are transversely running three gyri which extend from the supralateral surface deeply towards the floor of the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. These are transverse temporal gyri. This is anterior transverse temporal gyrus, this is middle transverse temporal gyrus, and this is posterior. They are located on the superior surface of the superior temporal gyrus. Now between upper and lower surface, this is floor of the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus, where there are some buried gyri and sulci, collectively known as the insula. So you can see the circular sulcus, this tail-like extension called lamen insulae, and it is crossed by sulcus centralis insulae. Anteriorly there are small gyri called gyri brevis. In the posterior part there is one long gyrus called gyrus longus. I hope with this paper model you have understood what are transverse temporal gyri, of which the anterior transverse temporal gyrus is very important because here part of the auditory center is located. And then in the floor there is insula, which are some gyri and sulci buried in the floor of the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. So with this, we finish with the sulci and gyri on the supralateral surface of the cerebral hemisphere. Now come to the medial surface of the cerebral hemisphere. Now we will draw another diagram showing the medial surface of the cerebral hemisphere. Now this is the medial surface of cerebral hemisphere. Now medial surface will be more clearly visible if you cut the midline structure. Now for example, what are the midline structures seen in section? There are several structures. Now we will discuss some of these. Number one, this is corpus callosum. Thick bundle of white matter connecting the two cerebral hemispheres. Now this corpus callosum we divide into different parts. This is rostrum of the corpus callosum. Then there is rounded anterior end of the corpus callosum. This is anterior end of the corpus callosum. Why? Because this is frontal pole, this is temporal pole, and this is occipital pole. This anterior rounded end of the corpus callosum, this is known as the genu. Number one, rostrum. Number two, genu. Then behind the genu, this is trunk or body of the corpus callosum. Trunk or body of the corpus callosum. Now posteriorly, I can see towards the occipital pole. Again, there is an expanded part of the corpus callosum. This is known as the splenium. Splenium of the corpus callosum. So these are the four parts of the corpus callosum, and this is a section. Then this is anterior commissure, another part in the middle line, and this vertical membrane of nervous system is known as lamina terminalis. So to expose the medial surface, we have to cut different midline structures, and some of the structures I explained. Now you can see the medial surface of the cerebral hemisphere. Now, what are the sulci and gyri on the medial surface of the cerebral hemisphere? Now, just outside the corpus callosum, there is a sulcus known as the callosal sulcus. Callosal sulcus. It separates the corpus callosum from the medial surface of the cerebral hemisphere, callosal sulcus. Then another sulcus starts just below the rostrum of the corpus callosum. It runs forwards, upwards, and backwards, and then turn upwards to reach the supromedial border posterior to the central sulcus. You know, part of the central sulcus is on the upper part of the medial surface. This is central sulcus. So it crosses the central sulcus and then turn upwards to end at the supromedial border. This is known as cingulate sulcus. Then a little in front of the central sulcus, there is a small sulcus which is unnamed. In some brain it is present, in some it is absent, but no name is given to it. Then there is another sulcus which runs backwards and downwards. This sulcus is known as suprasplenial sulcus. Suprasplenial sulcus. Why suprasplenial sulcus? I told you this posterior end of the corpus callosum, this one, is known as the splenium. So as it is above the level of splenium, therefore it is called suprasplenial sulcus. Then Here there is a sulcus which we have talked many times in previous lecture. This is the parieto-occipital sulcus. This is parieto-occipital sulcus. Which reaches and crosses over the supromedial border of the cerebral hemisphere and then run downwards and forwards on the supralateral surface of the cerebrum, which we discussed in last lecture. Then again another sulcus extends downwards and backwards towards the occipital pole of the cerebral hemisphere. This is known as calcarine sulcus. And this calcarine sulcus crosses over the occipital pole and appear on the supralateral surface of the cerebral hemisphere, which we discussed in the last lecture. Then below and parallel to the calcarine sulcus, there is another sulcus known as collateral sulcus. Collateral sulcus. Now, a little in front and parallel with the a little in front of the collateral sulcus, there is another sulcus which run forwards and then again turn backwards. Hook-like sulcus. This is known as the rhinal sulcus. Now here apparently it appears like that there is a sulcus which bifurcate into parieto-occipital sulcus and the calcarine sulcus. It is not like this. Both parieto-occipital and the calcarine sulci, they are separated from each other by a gyrus. Now how I will explain this. This is a section through the cerebrum in this region. These are the gyri and sulci. Now this is cerebral cortex, gray matter. And this is white matter. Now, a section through this region of the cerebrum during development. So you can see these are the gyri and these furrows are the sulci. Now what happens? These surrounding gyri, they grow faster. during development. Some of the gyri, they grow faster as compared to the other neighboring gyri. So you can see this gyrus lags behind, but the surrounding gyri grow faster and overlap this gyrus in the floor. Thus, on the surface, you can see a sulcus here, one sulcus, like this. But if you remove the lips of this sulcus upwards and downwards, then you will see here in the center there is a gyrus. In the center there is a gyrus, like this. This one. So because these two gyri are overlapping this gyri, so one cannot see this sulcus and gyrus in the center. This is because of slow growth, and this is because of faster growth during development. So inside you can see this is parieto-occipital sulcus. This is parieto-occipital sulcus, and this is calcarine sulcus. The parieto-occipital sulcus and calcarine sulcus, they are separated from each other by a buried gyrus. This is gyrus which is buried, known as the cuneate gyrus. But on the surface, when the lips of these sulci are closer, like this, it appears that there is a common sulcus which bifurcate into parieto-occipital and calcarine. No, both parieto-occipital and calcarine sulci, they are totally separated from each other by a gyrus which is buried inside, and the surrounding cerebral cortex is surrounded, it is not visible. But if you move these gyri from each other, in the floor you will see a gyrus which is buried, known as the cuneate gyrus. It is buried. Just like insula, I told you, buried gyri. So now what is this? This is parieto-occipital sulcus. Green color may be not visible to you. So this is parieto-occipital sulcus. And this one is the calcarine sulcus. And these two sulci are separated by a buried gyrus known as the cuneate gyrus. Now these were sulci on the medial surface of the cerebral hemisphere. Now these sulci separate various gyri. Now this is a cingulate sulcus, and this gyrus which is between the cingulate sulcus and supromedial border, this is called medial frontal gyrus. Medial frontal gyrus. Now the medial frontal gyrus, behind the medial frontal gyrus, there is a U-shaped gyrus around the terminal end of the central sulcus. Already we discussed. This is known as the paracentral lobule. Very important. Paracentral lobule. because here there are motor and sensory centers for perineal region. And you know, the perineal region, there is urethral sphincter and anal sphincter. If there is damage to this paracentral lobule, these sphincters will be paralyzed. So it is very important. So medial frontal gyrus, and the medial frontal gyrus is separated from paracentral lobule, which is around the central sulcus, by an unnamed sulcus. Unnamed sulcus. Then between the callosal sulcus, which is around the corpus callosum, and the cingulate sulcus, and then suprasplenial sulcus, and here parieto-occipital sulcus, there is a curved gyrus starting from below the rostrum. This large curved gyrus which follow the curvature of the corpus callosum. This is known as the cingulate gyrus. This is cingulate sulcus. This is cingulate gyrus. Below the rostrum and genu of the corpus callosum, there is a curved gyrus which follow the curvature of the corpus callosum. It is separated from the corpus callosum by callosal sulcus, and it is separated from medial frontal gyrus by cingulate sulcus and suprasplenial sulcus. Then below the splenium, here there is a small gyrus known as the isthmus. This is known as the isthmus. This gyrus, small gyrus, is known as isthmus. Then isthmus is continued as another gyrus, which is known as the parahippocampal gyrus. Parahippocampal gyrus. Then from in continuity with the anterior end of the parahippocampal gyrus, there is a hook-shaped gyrus. hook-shaped gyrus surrounded by a rhinal sulcus. This hook-shaped gyrus, this one, known as the uncus. Now you can see surrounding the middle line structure, there are some gyri which are in continuity with each other. Starting from here is the cingulate gyrus. Then there is small part of gyrus known as the isthmus. It is continued as parahippocampal gyrus below this midline structure. And anteriorly the parahippocampal gyrus is continued as hook-shaped gyrus, just like a hook. This hook-shaped gyrus is known as the uncus. The cingulate gyrus is outside bounded by cingulate sulcus, suprasplenial sulcus. This common stem of the parieto-occipitalis sulcus, which is not common to it because inside the parieto-occipitalis sulcus and calcaneus sulcus, they are separated by cuneate gyrus. Then the posterior end of the cingulate gyrus is continuous with the parahippocampal gyrus by a small gyrus called isthmus. And parahippocampal gyrus and anteriorly a hook-shaped gyrus surrounded by a rhinal sulcus is known as the uncus. Now I told you that there is another lobe also, physiological lobe, known as the limbic lobe. Limbic lobe. These are parts of the limbic lobe. That is cingulate gyrus, isthmus, parahippocampal gyrus, the uncus, plus diencephalon. Include diencephalon, thalamus and hypothalamus. All these are the components of a physiological lobe of cerebral hemisphere known as the limbic lobe, which is very important. Then, now we talk about gyri: medial frontal gyrus, paracentral lobule, cingulate gyrus, isthmus, parahippocampal gyrus, and uncus. Now, between the supromedial border and the suprasplenial sulcus, and then between the parieto-occipital sulcus and calcaneus sulcus, can you see this triangular gyrus? This is known as the cuneus. The gyrus bounded by parieto-occipital sulcus, calcaneus sulcus, and the postomedial border is known as cuneus. This is the name for this gyrus. Now here there is another gyrus which is between the suprasplenial sulcus and the supromedial border. This is known as precuneus. In front of cuneus. Precuneus. In front of cuneus is the precuneus. Precuneus is between supromedial border and suprasplenial sulcus. And cuneus is between parieto-occipital sulcus and calcaneus sulcus. Now, just we talk about cuneate gyrus, which is a buried gyrus separating inside the parieto-occipital sulcus and the calcaneus sulcus. So do not confuse with these names. These are different. This buried gyrus is called cuneate gyrus. This gyrus is known as the cuneus, and the gyrus in front of it is called the precuneus. Next, I told you this is calcaneus sulcus and this is collateral sulcus, which after a short break is continued as the rhinal sulcus. So this is collateral sulcus. Now, can you see a gyrus here? An elongated gyrus. Tongue shape. This is why it's known as the lingual gyrus. Lingual gyrus. Just like tongue is known as lingual glossus. So because it is elongated tongue-shaped gyrus, this is known as the lingual gyrus. So these were sulci and gyri on the medial surface of the cerebral hemisphere. I will just rename again these. These are the midline structure, and the major part is the corpus callosum. So the corpus callosum is separated from rest of the medial surface by callosal sulcus. Between callosal sulcus and the cingulate sulcus and supraciliar sulcus is the cingulate gyrus, which is continued as another small gyrus called isthmus, which is still continued as an elongated gyrus known as the parahippocampal gyrus. Then this hook-shaped gyrus is called the uncus. Between the supromedial border and the supraspinatus sulcus, there is precuneus. Between the parietal sulcus and the calcareous sulcus, this is cuneus. Between the calcareous sulcus and collateral sulcus, this is the lingual gyrus. And here, outside the cingulate sulcus, this greater anterior part is known as the medial frontal gyrus, and then a U-shaped gyrus around the terminal part of the central sulcus is known as the paracentral lobule. So these were gyri and sulci on the medial surface. Now, gyri and sulci on the inferior or basal surface of cerebral hemisphere. Now we will draw the basal surface of cerebral hemisphere. Now this is basal or inferior surface of right and left cerebral hemisphere. These are midline structure, and already we talk about it. For example, optic nerves, remnants of the optic nerve, then optic chiasma, then right optic tract, left optic tract, then I told you behind the optic chiasma is the tuber cinerarium. These we will discuss later on in detail. This is why I'm not labeling. Then the tuber cinerarium. Then there are two rounded bodies called mammillary bodies. Here is section through the midbrain. Here is part of the posterior perforated substance. So these are midline structures seen on the inferior surface of the cerebrum. Now, this is inferior surface, this is frontal pole, temporal pole, occipital pole, orbital part of the inferior surface and tentorial part. Now what are the sulci and gyri? On the orbital part, here there is a sulcus known as the olfactory sulcus. And there are irregularly capital H-shaped sulci, English letter H, on the orbital part of the inferior surface. So this is olfactory sulcus. Then all these H-shaped sulci collectively known as the orbital sulci. Then on the tentorial part of the inferior surface, there is a sulcus which starts a little behind the temporal pole and run backwards and ends a little in front of the occipital pole on each side. Now gyri. Now this gyrus, which is medial to the olfactory sulcus, is known as gyrus rectus. Rectus means straight. It's like rectus femoris muscle. Then rest of the orbital part of the inferior surface is traversed by H-shaped sulci. So around it there are orbital gyri. For example, number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4. These are not numbered because the space is not available, so I cannot label here. So number 1 is the anterior orbital gyrus in front of the H-shaped suture. Then number 2 behind the H-shaped suture is the posterior orbital gyrus. Now number 3 lateral to the H-shaped sulci is the lateral orbital sulcus, lateral orbital gyrus. And number 4, which is medial to the H-shaped orbital sulci and lateral to the olfactory sulcus, number 4 is the medial orbital gyrus, because they are all on the orbital part of the inferior surface. Now come to the tentorial part of the inferior surface. There is a sulcus which starts a little behind the temporal pole and run backwards and ends a little in front of the occipital pole. This is known as the occipitotemporal sulcus. Occipitotemporal sulcus. Now in this way the tentorial part of the inferior surface of the cerebral hemisphere is divided into 2 gyri. One is lateral to the occipitotemporal sulcus, the other is medial. So this is lateral occipitotemporal gyrus, and this is medial occipitotemporal gyrus. Same is on this side. Now the question arises why it is known as the olfactory sulcus. Here we have removed the olfactory bulb and tract because just below this sulcus is the olfactory bulb. followed by olfactory tract, which then divide into 3 striae. Already we talk about it. So attached to the olfactory sulcus on the inferior surface orbital part, this is olfactory bulb, and this is olfactory tract. So the olfactory sulcus is obscured, hidden by this part of the olfactory system which belong to the sense of smell. So if you remove this olfactory bulb and tract, then we will be able to see this sulcus known as the olfactory sulcus. Now look here. Here on the medial surface, we talk about the lingual gyrus and collateral sulcus. Clear? Now, the lingual part of the collateral sulcus and lingual gyrus is also seen on the inferior surface. So this creates some confusion in books. Part of the lingual gyrus and the collateral sulcus is described in the medial surface, and remaining part of the lingual gyrus and collateral sulcus is discussed in the medial surface, in the inferior surface. So just to remove this confusion, I describe the lingual gyrus and collateral sulcus along with rhinal sulcus and parahypocampal gyrus all on the medial surface so that you are not confused. And the remaining part, excluding the collateral sulcus and lingual gyrus, I described the occipito-temporal sulcus, dividing it into lateral occipito-temporal gyrus and medial occipito-temporal gyrus. So this was the topic which we finished, that we discussed all the sulci and gyri on the supralateral, medial and inferior surfaces of the cerebral hemisphere, and apart from this, we also talk about the insula, which is buried in the floor of the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. Thank you very much.